I'll stop here, and I will now invite our 4 discussants from Bangladesh. We have Mr. Mohammad Mehbubul Alam. Mr. Alam is here somewhere in the hall. He's the CEO of Premier School, Dhaka. May I request you to please come up on the stage, Mr. Alam. From Nepal, we have Mr. Nirmal Adhikari. Mr. Nirmal is the principal of Trinity International College, Kathmandu. From Pakistan, we have, thank you very much. From Pakistan, we have Ms. Munize Nausheen, who's the executive director of KN Academy, Karachi. And from Sri Lanka, we have Kasun Disenaike, who's the headmaster at the Lyceum International School, Colombo, Sri Lanka. You want me to come there, or is it okay if I stand here? Okay. I've been told that we have more chairs for the next session, so there are no missing discussants here. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. I have to confess that they were not given any prep time except for a country brief, which has emerged from the report. So they've had a few hours to go through that. But then they're all experienced professionals in their field, and they go through these issues every day. So I think I would like to start with you, Mr. Nirmal, on the key challenges which school leaders face in terms of teacher employment. We've talked about recruitment, but I think we would like to focus more on retention. So if you could share your thoughts on that. Probably need some help.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nirmal Adhikari from Trinity International School and College in Kathmandu. We have over 4,000 students and 300 teachers and staff. And we are PSG, and especially for the Cambridge International A-level schools. And we have over 200 students in that area. And the major problem in our case is like the teacher is a problem like a leaking bucket, you know. So we hire teachers, and in regular interval of time, there's a tendency to quit teaching. And there are few reasons. See, one reason in our case, we call it brain drain. See, instead of going to other schools for teaching opportunities, our teachers tend to go to the Western countries, especially US, Australia, and Canada. And we have challenges from other professions, not teaching. See, teachers tend to go to other areas, like other service sectors, especially banking and other areas. So retention has been a problem, and as it was pointed, maybe the financial compensation might be the issue. And in our society, teachers are not getting a status as they used to get at our time. When we were students, we regard teachers. But these days, the profession as such has not been regarded as it used to be in the past. So there's maybe some paradigm shift in the cultural dimension also.
Thank you. So Mr. Kasun, we've had some conversation before this about Sri Lanka. And as Mr. Adhikari has talked about some brain drain issues and issues around teachers quitting job after a short time of service. Do you experience the same thing in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, 100% agreed with this gentleman because now in the Sri Lankan context, the same thing, the brain drain. Because since it's a developing country, brain gain is at a minimal level. So if I mention, Sir Arthur C. Clarke is the only brain gain we had for the past 100 years. But brain drain has become a burning issue. So especially when it comes to the educationists who fall into the science category, they tend to migrate They tend to migrate because what they say is they don't have enough research facilities in our country. So we don't have research facilities like Argonne, Chicago, or Berkeley, California. We don't have it. And so the other thing is there's a very low level of recognition for research and development in Sri Lanka. Only high caliber academics, they involved in these researchers. So because of that, they tend to migrate. So it's a huge issue.
Okay. We come back to research and science, but before we move on, Mr. Alam, you are the CEO of Premier School Dhaka, and your thoughts on the key challenges. What do you see as a key challenge for Bangladesh?
It's for recruitment or retention?
Sorry?
Recruitment or retention?
For retention.
Well, thanks very much, everyone. I'm honored to be on stage. The things we're having in Bangladesh or the institution I'm running, we face there. Yes, retention is something for some teachers. They consider this teaching profession as a ladder as a step of his or her career ladder. So what happens that they switch when they get a better job, maybe in the corporate sector. So this was quite, massive happenings in the past. But in the recent years, since many of the schools, they started compensating the teachers a bit higher level. And alhamdulillah, after that, it has lessened, it has decreased. And most importantly, when I started my school, it's a new school. We started in 2009 in Uttra, that's an area in Dhaka, the capital city of Bangladesh. Then in 2009, within 9 years, within 2018, already we have established 3 different branches inside the capital city. So we wanted to do, it was possible for us to do that because of certain issues that what I want to mean is teachers, they were not pursuing the career as teachers. They were pursuing that as a step of a career ladder. When we started focusing that, when we started focusing their honor, the respect in the society as a teacher, and compensating them with the same level of financial motivation that the other corporate sector is giving, that was an amazing experience that I must say. Mm-hmm. And that had lessened or decreased the retention ratio. And one more thing is must say that I don't think this is the only difficulty that in Southeast Asia. Rather, I would say that maybe it's a problem in many countries that for some teachers, these financial rewards will not be sufficient. This is not the main point to retain the teachers. That's my experience. Rather, the sense of belongingness, the bond you create with the teachers, that is more important. They want accreditation. They want you recognize their contribution. They want you recognize their achievement. This is what basically, from my viewpoint, what I felt is this is a comprehensive thing that when you offer a teacher a package, it's not only full of financial rewards. There has to be some non-financial rewards which is full of motivation. And this comprehensive package will give you the retention ratio higher, inshallah.
Okay. So when we talk about the way forward, I think you already identified some of the issues, but also some of the solutions. And it doesn't have to be the financial motivation only. We'll come back to the question of motivation, but Manise, you have been part of a private school network for a long time, and now you're working for another organization called KN Academy. Can you share your experience as a school leader, as somebody who's been coordinating recruitments and has been working with the HR in schools, your experience of these issues in Pakistan?
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As far as the teacher retention is concerned, then definitely it's a problem for everyone, I guess, in the world, not only in our region, that of course, whenever there are the better opportunity in terms of finances, the teachers or whatever the professionals associated with different professions are concerned, they all used to find out the better opportunities. Whereas, when I spent a very long time in one institution, the motivation was continuous professional development. And the schools which are ensuring that their employees are upgrading their professionalism, not in only in the context of finances, but also in the career pathway if they are giving to their, the employees, then employees get motivated that they are improving, they are getting up in their career, and they are getting better opportunities for career growth. And that was my motivation why I spent 20 years in one institution where I have seen many people spend a lot of time in that institution and other institutions which were allowing employees to grow in their career through professional development. Then again, the challenge is for the professional development, the challenge is the readiness of the employees to undergo those courses and training. When employees believe and they feel that the courses or the trainings are forcefully being taken up by them, the institution is forcing them to go through the training, then of course they don't take that much interest in it. For that, I believe the continuous evaluation of the teachers is very much important. Then need-based training should come up from their own end. For the need-based training, result analysis, lesson observation, SWOT analysis being done by the teachers themselves is very much important. Taking them into the vision of the school where they want their institution to grow and their students to stand out in a crowd, then they would themselves feel that we need the professional development. So for the readiness, that vision should be given by the teachers that they want to go through the programs, the training programs, and it's then the school's responsibility to involve them in the different procedures so they are attached and motivated and they don't want to leave that institution where they are growing themselves.
Okay, so a lot of ideas coming out, but I think, again, something which I can echo with, which was mentioned yesterday, reflection, reflective practitioner, action research, and since we are basing this on research, and you've Maniza just mentioned that there should be a mechanism where we have needs-based training. So if you could all share in a couple of lines your thoughts on how familiar and how ready our teachers or practitioners are in South Asia for reflection or action research.
Actually, action research is based on the practitioners who are already in the field. Mm-hmm. Whereas when we talk about the induction of the teachers, there should be the different kind of professional development strategies. Because mostly when we get the teachers from the market, they are not trained. We get the raw teachers, the raw people, the raw employees. And then the institution in my country especially, the institution used to train them to become a teacher. As unfortunately, pre-service training is not a prerequisite in the private sector of our country. However, in the government sector, of course, teachers have to go through the bachelor's of education and then they get the job. But then in private sector, it's our responsibility to train them. For that, of course, this has to be the vision of the school leaders and the principals that continuous professional development is very much important and necessary, and there should be the different kind of courses set for the different level of teachers so that they feel that whatever they are learning is relevant to them. The relevancy is very much important in the professional development. If the teachers will get that much confidence that whatever they are learning and for whatever they are trained, they will be able to implement it. And there will be the result from their students' end, then definitely they'll be ready for it.
Yes, Ms.
All right. Hello. Basically, induction is something that frankly speaking, we did not apply in my school for maybe first 2-3 years because we did not know its importance. What will happen that throughout the experience, our learning curve, we came to understand that without this induction process, when you are not familiarizing the new teacher who got just recruited, fresh blood, a graduate, just a graduate, when he or she is not familiar with the school mechanism, the classroom management, and without induction, he or she is not going to, thrive. So what happens that he or she stumbles, and at one point of time, he gets irritated with this profession, and we get irritated with him or her. So what happened that we got this idea of induction, and normally we take around 3 to 4 weeks through we have set some mechanisms, some rubrics, some observation study, through which we let the new teacher go through. So I'll give my institution example, is what we do is that we had a policy that will not recruit the experienced teachers. We had a policy, something like that, once upon a time, that we wanted to recruit the fresh blood so that we wanted to build them up. So later on, we got 2 sets of teachers, and the experienced ones and also the new ones. We think induction is required for both of the teachers. All right?
So do you have any mechanism of reflection in the CPD that you have for your schools?
Yeah, of course. As I say that the training induction is just the starting, and then we got to the training sessions, and we follow up those at the end of the year. And this is something that we need to ensure that these things can be enhanced and day by day, because what happens is sometimes considering the reflection point is what we found is the teachers are getting training maybe during the intervals of the 2 semesters. So it becomes difficult for us to arrange 1 or 2 sessions in a year. So that's difficult. So we try to give more, and we are trying to give more. So the point is that at the end of the day, when we do this evaluation, and this is how we are approaching to reflection, but not at the level we are expecting that much.
Okay.
I would like to show here that in our institution, self-evaluation is the mechanism, and we just start at the beginning of the session that the ACR reports, which have to be prepared at the end of the session, and the key point indicators, which I mentioned in the ACR reports, are being incorporated in the self-evaluation form, which is being given to the teachers at the beginning of the session so that they can understand that they will be judged or assessed on which criteria. And then they have to give the evidence of their implementation as well. So by giving the evidences, of course, the evidence will be in the form of students. The product is a student. So if the student will do that, if the result analysis is the main criteria. So they just start working on those on those areas which are mentioned in the self-evaluation form, which is being given to them at the beginning of the session. And once they evaluate themselves at the end of first term and then at the end of the year before they get their annual report.
Okay. You want to say something, or we move on to the...
Yeah. I like the word she used. We recruit raw people, actually. So after the induction, it plays a major role. So by going through the induction, only they will be transformed into qualified teachers. So having a bachelor's degree or master's degree, it doesn't mean that you are a qualified teacher. You have done only a 50%.
Okay.
So you need to know the organizational setting and the subject knowledge inside out, everything. Then only you become a qualified teacher. So in my school, Lyceum International, right after the induction, so they'll be informed that you'll be monitored and evaluated your performances based on these factors. So they have to wait for a certain period of time. After that, they will be recognized as Teacher of the Month or say, the employee of the month, like that.
Okay.
So they have been given milestones. So,
Okay. I think
yeah.
that the percentage that we have for Sri Lanka for induction training is between 4.2 to 4.6 weeks. And again, this is at the beginning, at the time of recruitment, which is the average for whole of South Asia. One thing which I mentioned earlier was student learning outcomes are not highlighted in any of the interviews or focus group discussions that we had. Keeping in view that we have a youth bulge in South Asia, we have more young people compared to the rest of the world. How are schools tackling with, like, the focus right now is a lot on teachers. A lot of teachers are talking about CPD, they're talking about trainings, but how the student learning outcomes are being measured, or are they being measured, or is teachers' success in any way dependent on students' learning outcome? Start with you, Mr. Nirmal.
So I had a different view on the report. See, I've been a teacher for more than 2 decades, and induction and boarding is not quite usual in our case. So what I have seen practically is it's peer induction. And in the case of my school, we have maybe an unusual, or I'm not very sure if it is there in other schools also, we involve students also in teacher recruitment. You know, we get the first-hand feedback of students, and if they agree, then only we recruit. And periodically, we have feedback from the students, you know, that we have different parameters, like more than 20 questions represent different areas of teaching, and that also counts a lot in our case.
So, Alam, if you have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think your question was that lots of teachers are nowadays talking about this CPD and whether these are getting reflected on student learning outcome or not.
Or are they taken into consideration when we're talking about rewards and recognition, when we're talking about acknowledging the achievements?
All right. I think apart from the teachers, it's basically the responsibility of the school leaders to evaluate the CPD when they are applying this on the teachers, whether they are getting reflected on the learning outcomes from the perspective of the students or not. I think this is the responsibility of the school leaders. They're like lions because the school leaders, what I find is like for the birds, we call this flock. For the sheep or the cows, we call this herd. For the lions, we call them the pride. So the pride of the 21st century education system is the school leaders. And we are having them right now here. So but what we think is, yes, this is the responsibility of the school leader, how they will find it. So in terms of evaluation of the teachers, you need to critically evaluate, even with some numeric formula that we have already. We have a Likert scale, and through which we evaluate the teacher, the things they are getting. Sometimes from British Council, they arranged a lot of these presentations and workshops for the teachers. Whenever we send 1 or 2 teachers over there, they learn it, and when they come back, we make them do the same thing to the rest of the teachers, so that it gets manifested in his or her heart and mind what he got it from there. And also he or she spreads that among the other teachers. So we try to ensure that this is being implemented properly. However, at the end of the day, it is the class observation that will ensure, it is the lesson plan that will ensure, it is the students' results that will ensure whether these trainings, these tools and means that we applied as CPD is going to work or not. And this is the sole responsibility of the school leader. And we are, alhamdulillah, we are trying to apply that. And after this conference, this innovation where they focused, this basically opened my eyes even more. So but from here, definitely we'll be looking into this issue like never before, inshallah.
Please, if we can have.
Again, the same thing, evaluation. Evaluation is the main tool, but evaluation is a skill as well. That skill has to be developed. Who will evaluate? If the school leader, then are the school leaders being trained to evaluate? They know what are the tools for evaluation and what are the things to be judged? Then evaluation is very much important, and to learn how to evaluate is very much important. I remember that the first lesson which I learned after becoming a teacher was from Kolb's cycle, that there is a cycle: plan, implement, evaluate, reflect. So for that, first of all, evaluation has to be learned. Inspection has to be learned. And then qualitative and quantitative, both kind of analysis to be done. For qualitative analysis, definitely parents can be taken into account, the students as well. For qualitative, the results analysis are there, sort and score at the end of the year. These all should be the strategies to be followed in every institution if they want to see that where the students are going and what are the needs of the professional development.
Obviously, the evaluation, rewards and recognition, CPD, should be formulated by the school leadership. So I believe now the school, it should be objective. Most of the time in Sri Lanka, when it comes to evaluation, it's a subjective matter. So I think if you formulate it in a very corrective and a productive way, I think we can reap good results.
Thank you very much. I know that we're pressed for time. This conversation probably needs more time and a bigger engagement from the wider group as well. We have school leaders here. I wish we had school teachers here as well to talk about the issues which are burning issues right now. How much can we push teachers? How much more can we push teachers to do what they're expected to do? But please join me in thanking the panel here. They have shared the thoughts and the experiences that they've had in their respective countries. We also have these country briefs available on our website, and you're most welcome to access them and have conversations around them. But thank you very much. I